love, peace, and justice is what we are craving for. Because when we have all those, when we have justice, we have peace, where we have that, togetherness. Wow, I know that the world will be a better place for each and every one.
We've got a really amazing guest in here with us, and I'm so excited about having this conversation with Peter Ogick.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. He is super inspiring. I want to introduce him. Peter Ogick is a co-founder and executive director of SNUPA, the source of the Nile Union of Persons with Albinism, a non-governmental organization in Uganda led by and for people with albinism. He's also the chairperson of the youth committee under the National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda. Peter's passion for disability rights advocacy originates in his own experience and childhood. He was the first person with albinism to be born into his fishing community, and he experienced a severe stigma and discrimination as he was growing up. But this experience did not break him. Instead, it made him more determined to act as an advocate for others who had experienced exclusion. He campaigns for policies and practical support that uphold the rights of persons with albinism. Peter was recognized among the champions of the albinism cause by the United Nations Human Rights Office and was highlighted by The Guardian as one of 10 activists changing lives for disabled people around the world. Peter Ogick, welcome to Undaunted.
Wow, it's my great pleasure. I'm so happy to be speaking to you, and lovely greetings from our end here to our viewers and listeners. I'm so excited to be on the show.
Peter, you grew up in a small fishing community in Jinja, Uganda. For those of us that have never been there, please paint the picture for us. What is life like there?
First of all, just being born in Ireland, it's not like those islands in overseas. Our islands, people who are in islands here are people who are so primitive, they're not so much educated, they have different myths and misperceptions, just generally. And when I was born there, it was something that was, again, beyond explanation. My parents told me that when I was born like this, at first, of course, they were happy to hear that my mom had given birth. Of course, but when time by to come to see the baby didn't look like other babies. The baby was pale and the baby looked abnormal. And the rumor started that there is a ghost that has been born in the home of James. My dad is called James Oringa, so his first name is James. So it was very terrifying moment for both of them, because I was the first person to be born with this condition. Everyone distanced themselves from our family, thinking that the curse of the ghosts may spread all over the community. Being fishmongers and fishermen, my dad used to do a great business, but everyone distanced from him, thinking that maybe this curse will spread to them. And those ones who used to come and take water, they stopped. The family became really a very challenging time for my birth. Let me say it was really very challenging for my parents. My mom was brave enough and my dad was brave enough, and they loved me just like any other child. To go back in a community, of course, there was no hospital. So I wasn't born in an hospital. There was no any hospital. So they have to cross, to the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, it was a morning. My mom was preparing to, my dad was preparing to put my mom in the boat to take me to the nearest health center in the mainland. But due to that pain, I think my mom couldn't do it. So I ended up being born in our small hut mud houses, mud house with grass on it. It was very humble family as well. Of course, the community was so ignorant about albinism. So they associated it with other myths and misperceptions, which is generally a lot of perception attached to albinism, people all over, let me say, in many countries of Africa. But for my case, again, it was worse because I was already in primitive society. They don't know anything or any scientific way of giving birth to a person with albinism. They don't have any explanation. Even my parents, they just allowed me because they believed me. They believed that I'm just a gift from God. Honestly, they didn't also have a scientific explanation how I came to be, because both of them are black, they're dark. So that's why they started accusing my mother. Even they told my dad to divorce him, to divorce her, and tell her, please, I think there is something wrong with that woman. It was terrifying time.
I'm
But I
sure.
thank God that they loved me and they accepted me and they gave me opportunity to be where I am. Of course, I was young, nothing I knew. I started realizing this when the time I'm joining the school. Of course, when read that time, when they had that my parents want to take me to school, they discouraged them and told them, why do you waste your resources to teach that thing? I wasn't regarded as a human being, but I was regarded as things. So they said, you couldn't waste your resources to waste onto that thing because they don't study. In fact, they're not human beings because they don't die, they just disappear. Wow, that psychologically tortured me so much because I thought that anytime I would disappear. And honestly, being the first person being born with that condition, nothing I knew. I just took their word to be true. That's all that I knew.
Yeah.
But my parents didn't give them attention. They took me to school. And that's where I started experiencing more and understanding what is the experience of living with albinism. Children never wanted to sit close to me because the parent told them that when you sit close to me, I'll eat them. So if even any child cries around the door, we'll bring that thing to eat you. Others, they were told that when they sit close to me, they will become like me. So they thought that maybe albinism is contagious. Teachers never knew how better to support me. Being born with albinism comes with the challenge of short-sightedness because our eye retina will miss melanin, which would help us to see the light, the amount of light that enters into our eye. So that means we can't see things from very far. So instead of putting me in front of the classroom, teachers placed me behind in the corner of the classroom. So this meant that I couldn't see anything on the chalkboard. Teachers never knew how better they can support me. Instead, they don't know the challenges that comes with albinism. We people with albinism, we don't see things from far point. And teachers used to put me behind a classroom. And whenever I tried to go to see things clearly on the chalkboard, students would call me funny name. They would tell me, take away your skeleton. Do things like you also study. Why are you here? And these things used to demoralize me. But the most thing that really demoralized me was when one day the teacher told me, gave us work and he went out. Of course, I tried my best to do the work. So the teacher asked, where the exercise that I gave you? And I tried to explain to him the challenge that I go through. It was really terrifying situation. Teacher decided to cane me, chasing me and saying, you're stubborn, you're disobedient. How can I give you the work and you stop? I ran out of the class and went to my dad and told him, do you know that I don't want to study and I'll never go back to school because I'm treated as an outcast. You know what? I'm the only one who looks like me. And you never explain to me. You only tell me that I was created in God's image. I don't see any reason for study. I'm bullied at school, and teachers never pay attention to my challenges. with a word because I came with anger. Teachers not listening to me. And he said, no, my son, we love you. We know we love you and you'll make it. And he grabbed my hand. We walked with him to school. And he called the teacher who was teaching us and tried to ask him, why don't you treat Peter like any other child? Peter has a condition that do not allow him to see so well in classroom. And you as a teacher, it's your responsibility. Makes Peter study so well. And let the colleagues do not mistreat him because he is human, just like anyone else. And that was like a breakthrough. I was placed in front of the class and I started performing so well because I could see clearly on the chalkboard. And of course, I started performing so well. And even those students who were not performing so well, they started coming to me to show them how to do well in class. And of course, you can't come to me if you're not my friend. So of course, into that process, I started getting many friends. Thanks to God that these friends started becoming my ambassadors. They proved wrong their parents who told them that when you sit close to Peter, you'll become a person with albinism. He will eat you. And these children went back to their parents and said, Daddy, see, you told us that when we sit close to Peter, we'll come like him. But he's the one who showed me this answer. I didn't know how to do it. But also the teacher started to see my potential. They realized that I wasn't stubborn, but I wasn't just given opportunity to see what was on the chalkboard. And of course, like any other teacher, if your student performs so well, you become so much friendly. So, of course, I started winning some friends, but also naturally I was a friendly person. Whatever thing that I used to get, I would share with the colleagues, with my fellow students, and this really continued to win their hearts. But also, even all that was there were some few, of course, students, some few kids who were not really so open up to me. And still I had still within me a question, why am I white? My parents are black. I'm the only white person in the whole community. Let me say by then in the entire district. That was a question that used to puzzle me. And my parents, they didn't have that scientific knowledge, of course, of how better they can. So luckily, after 2 years, 2.5 years, we got another baby who had no albinism. And so I had more other siblings, like 4 of them, yeah. The three of them didn't have albinism. Then the fifth one is the one who also had albinism. Our last born was the one with albinism. I'm telling that was the one because she passed on. She's no longer alive. But her birth gave me a lot of joy because I knew, okay, I have somebody whom I'm like. She died around 10 years. She was 10 years. Yeah, she died 10 years. And I tell you, this was another story. When she died, let me say it was like, oh my God, people from far places came to witness. Cameras were all over to see a person with albinism dying. It was a news. Everywhere in the community, they were talking that, come and witness, do these people also die? Honestly, even they advised us that please don't bury us very far because people will come and dig her grave. Because it's believed also that their graves also have supernatural powers. So as a family, they had to bury her here. And my dad had to spend like about 3 months sleeping just outside to protect the grave from people who may come and dig up the grave. Of course, now before my sister even being born, this was at school. So when I was school, yes, I had those questions. Of course, I knew, okay, Maybe this is the plan of God. I'm the only one. So, but in me, I felt so bad seeing anyone being mistreated. I didn't want to see anyone being mistreated. This is not all about disability or one. Just I didn't want to see injustice being done to anyone, because there are a lot of injustice that have been happening to me. But I asked myself, how am I going to do this? Because I felt bad to seeing somebody with gloomy face, someone unhappy, just being mistreated. And now that's how I started. I started getting that vision of advocacy, becoming an advocate, becoming a voice of those who may not be speaking out for their challenges. And the only what came to my mind was, okay, I think I need to be a leader. So with time, of course, things weren't easy for a family, but because still the other myth and misperception, people who my dad used to work with, some didn't agree to come back, and now we're 5 in the family. So we started struggling financially, and I resorted also into photography, to get some money that I would to help me my tuition, and also started resorting into fishing. And I would go for fishing to raise some money to support my education and ABCD. So, of course, things were tough, but I determined that I want to become the voice of the voiceless. And I knew that this would become so hard if I'm not educated. I'm happy that my parents supported me with the little resources, and this pastor also contributed a lot to my education. Yeah, they were not financially well, and also I tried to do all that I could. So whenever I would go for fishing, the sun would burn me and come back with showers, and wow, this was terrible. And when I saw this was continuing, I tried to come to the mainland. That was I think, when I was about to join the university, I tried to come mainland during that vacation. Of course, it's a long holiday. So I said, okay, maybe the sun is burning me so much, and I don't have sunscreen lotion, because by then there's no sunscreen lotion. So I tried to look different jobs, but no one wanted to give me a job. Everywhere you go, they tell you that we don't have a job. And if you're lucky enough to get a bold person, I remember this bold person told me, no, we can't give a job to things like you. You would scare even our customers. Oh, that again pressed me back from the early ages. I said, oh, what can we do people to believe that we are human enough? You know, just missing melanin can make me not to be human just like anyone else. So it was so hard. So when I joined university, I didn't go with the aim of maybe being employed, getting a job, but I said, I just need to learn how to live with the society, and to change their perception. And that's why I did the course which I did in Uganda. It's called Social Work and Social Administration. But later also I added leadership and what. So when I joined university, in my second year, that's how I was joined with other persons with albinism, but being supported with a lady by then who was visually impaired, who really played a good role in helping me to coordinate more person with albinism, with whom we started this organization, SNUPA. In fact, when we came together, first of all, before forming the association, we wanted to find what are the real challenges. Personally, I wanted to know, is it what I go through is all what other people go through? But I'm telling you that mine was fair because I was loved by my parents. But the stories that I heard from the colleagues was even worse. I don't regret the past. I thank God that He gave me all strengths to go through it so that I may understand what it means. And when somebody is saying that I'm bold, I know what it means. When somebody says this, I know what it means. By the way, it's what gives me power to do whatever thing that I do. And that's why I'm always striving for a decent world. A world that will recognize me for my potential, not my impairment. A world that will understand me as Peter not as an albino or a person with albinism. That's the world that I'm striving for. So now, when we formed this organization, first of all, we had to understand what are the key needs, what are the challenges that people with albinism go through. We understood skin cancer is one of them. 98% of people with albinism die skin cancer before reach 40 years of age. Most of them die between 30 years. And as I'm speaking now, I'm just from the hospital. We are taking care of many persons with albinism. Today, we had like 3 of them had surgery, and there are others who will be having skin cancer surgery. So it became one of our priority to say, how do we reduce the skin cancer among persons with albinism? So I started to work so hard with my team, and we started seeing how we get some solution to be given to people with albinism. And as I'm speaking now, we provide it to over 1,500 people with albinism across the country, just in our limit. But also, and support also the surgeries and other medical conditions. We don't end there. We educate persons with albinism. We support the education. We want to see many Peters. I was lucky enough, I was educated. I work as role model to parents. Say, see, if I wasn't educated, maybe my voice would not be amplified. So through education, you're reducing the stigmatization, you're reducing the suffering, you're reducing, you are, if you don't educate those children, then you are endangering them. So we try to go to schools. We speak with the Ministry of Education. We speak with the relevant stakeholders. I advocate from locals to the parliament, to the internet, to the UN. The needs of persons with albinism, I address them everywhere. Advocacy, we are trying to do advocacy and lobbying also through all levels of people. We do advocacy at the parliament, the regional level, like we've just launched the National Action Plan. This we drafted together with our colleagues in Africa with albinism, with the help of the United Nations independent expert, to see that African countries have policies that will help the enjoyment of rights for persons with albinism. I do songs. I'm a songwriter. I sing advocacy songs for just social justice. I call them edutainment. They are enjoyable, but they entertain, but they are educating. We need people because understand the source of ignorance that we have is lack of information. So I know through music we can educate people as long as they at the same time will they enjoy. So I have a band, and I sing a soul song, but also I have a band called the SNUPA band, which have been performing different parts of the world. I go ahead also and trying to economically empower persons with albinism. We give them some small grant, and that grant aims into helping them to be able to get something that will help them to be sustainable economically. Of course, there are some challenges just with the amount of money that we get sometimes because our funding is from friends and well wishers. But my aim is to see that persons with albinism are able to meet their needs. They're able to buy all things that they need, like hats, like even to go to school. That's my aim, because when you come to Uganda, you find that persons with albinism are among the poorest people. Why? One, they're not educated. And those few who struggle to educate, they don't got jobs. And what will be the result? They will have to go and dig, and that's where they get the skin cancer and they die at early stage. So that's the circle that we're trying to break. Help them to get educated. And those ones who maybe were not educated, we give them some small grant to start a business that will not allow them to be exposed to the sun, so that they are able to get their daily needs just because of the sun. And we don't have sunscreen lotions here in the country. And if it's so expensive, you find other than 50 pounds. That's so huge, because a person doesn't have even a $50 for a meal. How do you expect that person to get those thousands? those amount of dollars to buy the sunscreen lotion. And that's the reason why many are dying skin cancer. So skin cancer is very serious one, because there is no sunscreen lotions here. And that's why through we get even the sunscreen lotion that we get now is from friends and well wishers who are supporting us to get this sunscreen lotion to be able to protect the skins. And that's comes to the first question, that why I put on white brimmed hat. One of it is to protect me from the sun, but also to reduce the amount of sun. So that's why anyway, even when you try to see my pictures, no matter where I am, I had to put on white brimmed hat, so that maybe anyone who may see that picture may know, okay, I had to put on this white brimmed hat to be protected from the sun. It's just why I said it's one of my brands.
So how many hats do you have, Peter? How many hats do you have?
I think I have like 10 hats.
You have like 10,
but
okay.
but they look the same, and you may not differentiate them. Some of them, they may not, but I allow them, and okay, they make me also stand out.
I love that. I love that. I love that. You know, I was thinking, man, there's so much about your story that resonates with me. Growing up as an African American here in America, where my skin color makes me an outcast and an outsider. And I was thinking about the irony of you being in a black country, and your absence of pigmentation makes you an outsider as well.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it is.
That's why I ask, where should we go?
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm American. I can't say that maybe I'm a European. My parents are all black. So where should I go? Where do I belong?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm in Africa, I'm not African enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I'm in Europe, I'm not that white enough to be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So where do I belong?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the questions. Love, peace, and justice is what we are striving for. Because when we have all those, when we have justice, we have peace, where we have that, togetherness. Wow, I know that the world will be a better place for each and every one.
Growing up, and some of the things that I experienced because of racism here in America, right? And feeling like I was an outsider, feeling as though I was being judged because of the color of my skin. And I look back on it now, and I notice the areas that I've been able to work in advocacy and standing up for others who are marginalized, who are pushed, to the limits, to not being part of the group. And I noticed that for me, it was so important that I went through those experiences, just as you stated earlier, so that I could have a heart for that work. And it wouldn't be theoretical. I wouldn't have to imagine what that felt like. I know what that feels like. So I can look at another young person who is feeling, isolated and alone, and feeling like they're not welcome in a space, and know exactly what that person feels like. And if I'm doing my work, be proactive and go and welcome them into the space, which is what we're all called to do, right? We are all called to do that. And I see you doing that, brother. The fact that you have found purpose in your pain, and you have used that pain as a catalyst for your engagement and for the work that you do. There's a, I know that faith is very important to you, man. There's a wonderful quote from the Baha'i writings. I'm a Baha'i, Nava's a Baha'i, but I was thinking about it as you were speaking. And I think it relates directly to what we're talking about each of us, even though the world might put us on the outside, on the margins, in spirit, we're all one. And this quote says that, it says, they whose hearts have been warmed by the energizing influence of God's creative love, cherish his creatures for his sake, and recognize in every human face a sign of his reflected glory. And when I look at you, brother, I see a sign of God's reflected glory. And whatever it took for you to get to where you are, to be the person that you are, and to be the kind of advocate you are, although my heart breaks for some of the pain that you went through, I'm also so grateful for the person that you've developed into. And I think it was certainly part of the reason of that is that struggle, and then coupled with the love of your parents and key people in your life who helped you to see your value and your worth. So I love you, brother, just for the work you're doing. Thank you so much.